How you doing? Justin here. In this lesson today we're checking out kind of the jazz idea of chords built in fourths, well, in a jazz context. So hopefully most of you that are at this kind of stage of your guitar playing are aware that chords are usually built up in thirds. So in a C major chord that would be C, E, G and B for a C major 7. So play a note, miss a note, and then play a note, miss a note kind of idea. It's very simplified. So that would give us our kind of regular kind of major 7 and minor 7 and dominant 7th chords. But you can also construct chords in fourths, most famously used by Bill Evans in the song So What, where he had a series of fourths and then a third on the top. We're just going to be looking at straight chords built in fourths, 4-note chords built in fourths. So if we do that on a C major chord, we'd start with the note C, we'd skip 2 notes of the scale, which would be the notes D and E, and then we'd play an F. We got the interval of a perfect fourth there. And then we would miss another 2 notes, so F, G and A would be missed, and we'd play the note B, which gives us a little augmented fourth. And then we'd miss another 2 notes from the B, so C and D, and we'd end up with the note E, which is a perfect fourth again. So we end up with this grip. I call this kind of the major 7 grip, or type 1 grip. I give it all sorts of different names, but let's call it a major 7th kind of grip. It's not a major 7th chord. I guess it would be a major 11 or a kind of a major 7 sus4. You could give it lots of different names, but it's just a chord built in fourths off the 1st degree of the scale, and that's important, the 1st degree of the scale thing. So those of you that need a further instruction, that'd be 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret on the middle 4 strings. All of this that we're doing today is going to be on the middle 4 strings. So that's the first chord in fourths, because it works kind of diatonically, of course. So we're just, in this particular exercise, we're only working with the notes in C major. Now that little thing I did in the intro was a D Dorian little idea. I just played a kind of a D minor walking bass line, and we're playing only notes from C major, so that kind of gives us a Dorian flavor. You can use it lots of other modes as well, but we're going to be sticking with the Dorian things in the key of C major to start off with. So that was the first grip. 3, 3, 4, 5. C, F, B and E. Now if we move all of those notes up 1 step diatonically, so to the next note in the scale, we'd have a D root note, and we'd have the notes D, G, C and F. 5, 5, 5, 6. Middle 4 strings, of course. And this is probably the most common kind of chord built in fourths grip. And there are 4 of times that this particular shape occurs diatonically. And the first one of those is up another 2 frets from this to the kind of the E minor 7E kind of shaped one. It's very much like a minor 7th chord with one of the fingers lifted off. I will give you a close-up of these different grips as well, but I want to explain the idea to you out in a wide first. So we've got that C major 7E kind of grip, D minor 7 kind of grip, E minor 7 kind of grip. Now the next one is a kind of a chord 4 grip, right? This would be 8th fret, 9th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret. I'm using a little mini bar with my 2nd finger there on the 9th fret. And this is a major 7 sharp 11 sound. I think this is my favorite of the sound of this collection of grips. So that's an F root. We've got F, B, E and A. It's a very cool sounding chord. The next one, starting with the G root, we kind of get the 5 chord one, or the dominant kind of grip, which would be 10, 10, 10, 12. And the next 2 grips are both back to our minor grip, which would be the kind of an A minor-y shaped one, right up at the 12th fret, 12, 12, 12, 13. and the one built from degree 7, chord 7, normally a minor 7 flat 5 chord. In this chords built in 4th, it's exactly the same as the minor 7 grip. So we've got 14, 14, 14, 15, or down here at the 2nd fret, 2, 2, 2, 3, if you want. Now, what's interesting about the chords in 4th is that you can kind of move between them pretty easily. It's not like if you've got a D minor chord, you would substitute it with D minor 7 with a chord built in 4th. You can play any of those chords. As put this little bass line thing on again. So this little thing's just I've got a looper pedal here. It's just really a D minor chord. And that would be the vamp, you know, if it was playing D minor. But I can use all of those chords that I've just been through over this, and they sound cool. Here's the C one, the D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B minor, and back to C. Now you would tend to stay around D. Just because we're in D, it kind of makes sense to hang around the D. It'll sound more like it's supposed to if you do it that way. And an interesting other little thing that you can do while I just sort out my looper pedal here, because it just decided to try and record another loop. Whenever you've got the shape the same shape, a tone apart, you can fill it with a little chromatic. Always sounds cool with the chords built in 4th. So, as does sliding into them. Once you've got the grips, that can be a really funky sounding little number to play about with as well. So as soon as you get into that kind of bit of chromaticism as well, you got really cool little trick, this one. I really like it. And it works. I've just been doing it in Dorian in the key of C. Okay, so D minor, kind of D Dorian, using all of the notes from the C major scale. But it works over loads of other different things as well. So just if we stay in the key of C, all of the chords that are diatonic to the key of C, you could use those same grips. So over a D minor, you could use it over an E minor. It'll sound a little bit different. Interesting, kind of hard to use even, maybe it's kind of a Phrygian-y kind of sound. You could use it over F major 7 and have an F Lydian sound, which sounds great. It works over a G7 vamp. So if you were doing a bluesy kind of thing, you could use all of those grips. It's really interesting. It's really good fun to explore this little idea a bit. And it's something that you kind of, that you ought to do. You know, I could show you all of the different things, but it's far better for you to do some of this study yourself. And the other thing, I've just been talking about the middle 4 groups, the middle 4 strings, but of course the same idea works on the thinnest 4 strings and the thickest 4 strings. The thinnest 4 strings sound pretty cool. The thicker ones, for me, they tend to get a little bit muddy, so I don't tend to play with those very much. But using the thinner strings is definitely a great idea as well, and something that you should explore. So let's get to a close-up and check out those grips, just in case there was any doubt about them. So here's the first chord. This is a C major 7th chord. And we get our chords built in 4th grip simply by lifting off the 3rd finger. Now, you can see, you could use lots of other fingering choices if you want, 3rd finger or little finger, but I tend to use little finger because it's so close to that. Just lifting it off and then I'm there. There's the 2nd grip, so that would be, there's D minor 7. If we lift off the 3rd finger, we get our little kind of D minor or minor shape or whatever you want to call it grip. And it's the same one moved up to E. Now let's move it up to the F. So this is the F, so 8th fret, 9, 9, 10. There's the 5 chord shape. Notice it's exactly the same as like a regular G7 kind of A grip bar chord with the 3rd finger off. We've got 2 more there. A minor, B minor, and we're back to C. Definitely practicing it in a little sequence like that is something that you should be doing. Well, I'm sure you're going to have a whole lot of fun playing around with these chords built in fourths. I sure did. I remember learning them, and I don't think I played any other chord grips for several months because I was just so into the sound of it's really cool, and it kind of, if you're used to playing just your regular kind of jazz grips, it's a whole new world of harmony to explore. It's a lot of good fun. Definitely to start off with, you want to stick with some simple modal tunes, the two most common being So What, the Miles Davis song, which kind of started off for me. I'm not sure if Bill Evans was the first guy doing that stuff or not. I'd have to research that. But that song and Impressions, which is the same chord changes but with a John Coltrane head on it, is another good one to do. Other than that, playing some kind of funk vamps is a really good fun thing. Just playing for example, if you were playing an E7 funk vamp, you would be thinking E mixolydian, and E mixolydian is the same as A major scale. So you would have to work out all of those grips again in the key of A. Right, so like 3 frets down from the ones that we were just doing in the key of C. And you'd learn the sequence and practice up the sequence and learn it off of that. Just a little hint on that thing. I always try to think of the chords built in fourths as in their scale degrees more than the key. So I'm thinking of the way that the different shapes link with each other from any point. So for example, if I was thinking in E for an E funk vamp, for example, I'd be starting with chord 5 because I know that's the 5 chord shape in E. And I know that the 4 chord shape is a tone lower, and a semitone lower than that is 3, and a tone lower is 2. And a tone higher is the minor, and another tone above is another minor. So rather than having to think like, oh, I'm in this key, that's the key of A, and thinking in A, which is a bad idea. If you're in E and you're playing an E funk vamp, then you don't want to be thinking A because you're going to be playing kind of A things, and you want to be thinking E things. This is the whole big deal with modes, is that you're using a different major scale, but you're thinking, it's really important, the thinking bit, you're thinking E. So if I'm thinking A, I'm going to be playing all A stuff. I'm going to be basing it around the A chord, and really you want to be basing it around the E thing. Kind of a big deal, that one. So make sure you bear that in mind. Plenty of more information and little chord diagrams and all of that on the website. Hope you have fun with it, and I'll see you for another lesson very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.